Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Coming Up Milhouse, where it's apparently cat grooming time in front of my face. We made both cats come in here and say hello. They are probably not going to last. Today, it is October 1st, 2023. So, of course, in October, we like to talk about the Treehouse of Horror episodes. And we are on Season 10, Episode 4, which happens to be Treehouse of Horror number 9.
I don't get it. They should be here by now.
What are you gonna do?
I've often said I wasn't a big fan of the Simpsons movie, but if they ever made another movie, it should be a Treehouse of Horror movie.
That's true.
And I think I would definitely be up for that. And it's a missed opportunity, but we've gotten many of these episodes really good. So in this one, we have 3 vignettes. It is Hell to Pay, Terror of Tiny Toon, and Starship Poopers. A play on Starship Troopers with Maggie at the center of that. All 3 very funny and different plays on different things, and that's why this is always so good. We're going to do a line, each of us, from each vignette. So why don't you give me your first one from Hell to Pay?
Okay, so in Hell to Pay, Snake has an incident at the Quickie Mart, and then all of a sudden there's a TV show from the producers of When Skirts Fall Off and the Secrets of National Security. We bring you world's deadliest executions. And that was Ed McMahon on TV, and it's really his voice, so I had to use it, and I just loved that happening. So When Skirts Fall Off is a show that they've done, and that just is funny. So World's Deadliest Executions, and the execution was filmed live, and there was a lot of fanfare surrounding that. What about your first line from that?
Well, mine is right there along with you in that same scene, because in this case, Snake is going to get the chair, and my line is from Homer, and it's, "The chair? Oh, why do they only do crucifixions during sweeps?" He was disappointed he wasn't going to see him.
So clearly they're fans of that show, as is quite a few others, 'cause it's on. Oh my goodness. Anything else you want to mention from that episode before we go into the second one?
No, the only thing I was thinking while we were watching this was that this would actually make a movie. They could actually do a movie with this concept of a toupee taking over a guy's mind and making him become a killer because it used to belong to killer. It sounds like a goofy 80s slasher movie concept. True. I'm surprised no one ever did that back then, because we had some crazy concepts and plots in 80s horror. And this one, with all the joking aside, actually probably could have lived in that genre in some way, shape, or form. I could see this being a real horror movie. That's all.
Cool.
All right, so that takes us into our line from the next one, The Terror of Tiny Toon.
The Terror of Tiny Toon. Marge and Homer are going out for the evening, and they leave Bart and Lisa at home watching TV. Except for Marge would like them to be more productive than watching TV and doesn't want them to watch scary stuff before they go to bed, so she takes the batteries out of the remote control. That does not stop the kids. And they use some deadly plutonium and end up really living through their favorite Itchy and Scratchy episodes.
Absolutely. So what's your line
So,
for this one?
my line is, as Bart and Lisa are going through their escapades in this particular snippet, they end up being saved when Homer changes the channel, and they end up falling into a vat of stew, and Kathy Lee and Regis are on, and it's actual, it's not animated for that, but they fall into the stew, and Kathy Lee says, "That's it! I'm going home. Tom DeLuise can interview himself."
They got the real Regis and Kathy Lee. That was great.
Again, times of the era.
Yeah, the 90s. They were
Yep.
a thing. They had that talk show in the 90s, so this was topical. This whole episode with the vignettes, there were a lot of topical things in it, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in the next one. But that was funny.
It was.
Yeah, I liked it.
That's the line I wrote down. What
Yep.
about you?
So mine is when Homer and Marge are gonna go out, and they're gonna go trick or treating with Maggie, and Marge looks over and Homer's dressed like a hobo, and she says, "Oh, Homer, you're not going as a hobo again." And he says, "Going as what?" He's eating beans.
Going where? Yeah.
Yeah, going where? That's just how he looks, apparently. And Marge assumed he
No,
was
he was
costumed
so-
up as a hobo, and he
Yes.
was just dressed like himself.
Raggedy can opened beans, and his toes were sticking out of his shoes, and what a guy.
Fun stuff. Yeah.
And then we had Starship Poopers.
Mm-hmm.
Want to talk about that one a little bit?
Yeah, so we find out that Maggie actually had another father.
Yikes.
And
Marge.
it was one of the King and Kodos
It was
aliens. It was
Kang.
Kang, yeah. Because Maggie starts sprouting little tentacles,
Right.
and we find out that, Marge didn't have Maggie with Homer, let's put it that way.
She grew her first tooth, which is a spiky fang, and then, look, Maggie lost her baby legs, which isn't supposed to happen, but everybody seems really chill about all that, and it just seems funny to me. So, would you like to go with your first line? Your line in there?
My first line is, "Marge, look! Maggie lost her baby legs!" That's what I got written down here.
Sorry.
It's all good.
That's funny.
But that was my favorite one, because he's holding her legs up, and Marge comes in, she's like, "Oh my." And Homer seems to think it's okay for a baby's legs to fall off, like she's going to grow a new one.
Well, I wrote that one down too. But anything you can prescribe, doctor? Do you know the follow up of that?
Fire, and lots of it.
That's what you prescribe for everything. That's a really good one.
Yeah, I love it. That's fun stuff.
Oh my goodness.
Alright, so that takes us into scenes. What's your favorite scene in the entire episode?
In the entire episode, it's a tough one. It really is. I'm gonna go with Starship Poopers though, and they end up on the Jerry Springer show. And on the Jerry Springer show, underneath, Marge and Homer are on the couch waiting for Kang to come out, and it says, "Wife knocked boots with space stud." And just that whole Jerry Springer scene just cracks me up, and Kang comes out, and he doesn't like what the audience have to say to him, and there are fights on the stage, and he gets his ray gun out, and it's just hilarious. And then Marge can't believe Jerry Springer couldn't solve their problem.
And going back to what I said before about topical, the Jerry Springer show back in the 90s was it. Yeah, I mean, it was like a train wreck, but you had to watch it because it was just so outrageous.
Everybody talked about it.
Yeah, and interesting fact, he was once the mayor of Cincinnati. We're from Ohio, so that was interesting. And then he went on to, we recently lost him, I think, a year or two ago.
Right.
But back then in the day, his show was just a big hit, and the fact that they were parodying that, and this is pretty good.
Apparently, I'm done with my notebook because
Yeah.
Vincent just decided to lay on it. But
He wanted to be in the episode.
Yeah.
Here he is.
what about your?
So I'm
favorite scene?
going with Hell to Pay episode, and my favorite part of that is when Wiggum's doing a press conference after Apu and got killed, and I think Mo had gotten killed by that point, and he's drinking a slushy, Slurpee, you know. He's like
Squishy from the.
squishy, yeah, and it's blue, and he's like, best we know is that Apu didn't suffer, and it pans over, and there's Apu's legs sticking out of the squishy machine, and then Lou's like, or Luther, I think is what he said, I think it looks like he's suffered a lot, and Wiggum's like, man, when were you going to tell me? How long were you going to let me drink this thing? And then he keeps drinking
Yep.
this squishy, even though Apu's dead in the machine. So that is a good moment.
That
So
I know
funny.
you love Chief Wiggum, and that episode was very Chief Wiggum heavy
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
with some hilarity ensuing. So
The Keystone coppiness of
Yep.
Wiggum and the cops are always just great fertile ground for humor on this, and they didn't disappoint in that moment either. All right, takes us to winners and losers. How do you want to do that this week?
let's do. So we're doing winners and losers of the overall.
Of the
three.
overall,
Okay,
yeah.
so let's go with your winner first.
My winner is Dr. Nick. Hi, everybody. Because Homer wants to get a hair transplant. That's the Hell to Pay again. I think that might have been my favorite in one of these stories. And he said, Dr. Nick's got a syringe, and he says, these drugs will make the operation feel like a beautiful dream. And then he punches Homer out and takes the drugs.
And then uses recently used pizza cutter for the surgery. So. Yep.
So I'm like,
Good
well,
old Dr. Nick.
Dr. Nick got to have a beautiful dream while he was working. And didn't
He
have
got
to
paid for surgery and.
Oh man, who's your winner?
Oh, it's tough for me. I'm gonna go with Kang. Just because, and you said Hell to Pay was your favorite of these. That was my second favorite. Starship Poopers is my favorite, just because of, I love Kang and Kodos, but that one just is funny to me. So, Kang, at some point, this was human test subject or human number 13. So, this isn't the first or only time that they've had an almost 2-year-old starting to develop tentacles and fangs, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Kang comes and, he has Maggie as a daughter and gets to go on the Jerry Springer show and
be called a super stud or whatever he was called.
Super stud, super space stud. Yeah, a space stud.
A space stud.
And he gets to punch Homer and he uses ray gun on the entire audience of the Jerry Springer show, and I don't know, that just cracked me up, so I'm going with him as the winner.
I dig it.
Plus, he got to put the moves on Marge in a back alley.
The adult movie theater. And that's what Marge picked. That's what's hilarious. She's gonna pick the Camaro now, movie theater.
No. Back alley.
Back alley.
What about your loser?
Itchy and Scratchy. Because they get pulled out of the TV at the end with the plutonium remote control, right? And they're looking all menacing. No, we find out that Itchy's just a mouse. So Homer puts him in a cage and with a hamster wheel, and now he's stuck running in a wheel. And then Scratchy gotta get neutered. No! Because he thinks Snowball's cute.
Pretty cute. So.
And then Marge is like, well, time to get you neutered. No! So they didn't come out on top
Not really, and it's really funny because my loser is from that segment too, and I picked Poochie.
I thought about that. My name's Poochie D, and
Poochie gets run over by the car during the whole chase scene, death trying to kill Bart and Lisa scene, and an Itchy and Scratchy episode. So
right. Poochie never fared well at all in the whole saga of The Simpsons.
No,
so.
not at all. But
and then
he got hit by a car while he's skateboarding, and it was just.
Yep.
He was my loser. Out of all the losers we could have picked from Hell to Pay, Apu could have been a loser. Mo could have been a loser. Lots of losers there, but Snake could have been a loser. You watch this episode and share your winners and losers in the comments below, your favorite scenes. We'd love to hear from you, so feel free to do that in the comments below.
That is right, and thank you very much for watching. We've had several new subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have a lot of fun, and we appreciate you giving us your support. And if you haven't subscribed, hit us up right here. Subscribe, maybe give us a thumbs up, and let's keep this Simpsons discussion going. And we will be coming back at you again with some more October Halloween fun. I got a couple of ideas percolating here on top of a review of Treehouse of Horrors. We might do something else, and we'll come back at you. You'll have to tune in and subscribe to find out what it's going to be. All right.
I have to also mention that this is one of the best couch gags, so give it a watch. And all the voices are the actual actors. Well, for one of the characters in that scene. But
dig it.
One of my favorites.
Shout out Sound Off down there on Who Is in the Couch Gag. All right, bonus. All right, cool. That is our episode for this week. Tune in again soon. We'll be coming back at you. And until then, Jiminy Jillikers!
Why are you laughing? Hey, they're laughing at your pain. That's mean. Let's teach them a lesson.
A cartoon X. I love it.